Is that right, Brigitte?
Not necessarily, because if the majority are peaceful, loving Muslims, then what do they have to worry about in their own community? Look at the Muslims in the United States. If there was ever a group of people who are protected under our Constitution to speak freely and be protected, and supposedly the majority of them are moderate, how come they are not bonding together? And if any radical hurt any of them when they speak up in defense of the United States, the radicals should be
squashed. So you're saying Mike is an anomaly? Mike Gauss, you've debated him many times on my show. Is he an anomaly?
Mike, no. There are people like Mike, but where are the funders of people like Mike? Where is the funding? You're going to tell me there's not one mega millionaire from Saudi Arabia or the Islamic world that can give Mike $5 million and say, you know what, I believe in your moderate message. I want to help you build a grassroots organization.
Where does CARE get its funding?
Exactly. CARE got its funding from the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
Well, CARE is not getting, I think they used to get the funding from Middle East, but they're not. But the moderate Muslims are gaining momentum. There are more and more people. I'm in the community, Muslim community. There is a lot of support for what I am doing.
Does the Muslim community support me? Because I've been very outspoken against radicalism and Sharia and the treatment of women under Sharia. When you talk to people, they love the show.
Absolutely. Those Muslims, there are many I have talked, and I told them very clearly what you said earlier, that you distinguish between radical Muslims and Muslims and Islams.
But I'm afraid that the more moderate Muslims are afraid to speak out, and I think the numbers that have been radicalized are far greater numbers than we see, which is why we're watching. We're doing this special, because this to me, you know, when you see people laid out as we saw this week and slaughtered, cold blood murder, or the people, you know, that we saw, the 48 people in Kenya that were slaughtered in cold blood because they didn't give the right answer. That to me is the equivalent of a modern day Nazi. Pam Geller.
Well, I think that Mr. Gauss lives in his own private Islam. He doesn't have a theological leg to stand on. We saw not just in Kenya, but we saw in the Westgate Mall and we saw in Iraq that the jihadists were separating who they would slaughter and who they wouldn't. They were separating the Muslims from the non-Muslims. Longtime readers of my website, Atlas Shrugs, are not surprised by these developments. This was expected. Obama has been aiding a jihadist agenda. Came out yesterday under a Freedom of Information Act, the close ties that Obama had with Libya, Muslim Brotherhood, who were involved in the attack on our embassy. That's the real smoking gun that Christopher Stevens had met with the Libyan Muslim Brotherhood in July, the same people that were involved in the Benghazi murder. The idea that there are moderates, there are moderate Muslims that secretly agree. According to so many worldwide and national polls, there are many that support jihad.
Let me bring up a political question, and I'll throw it to my good friend Tamara Holder. Hi, Tamara.
Hi, Sean.
Because under this president, it seems very clear. He recently this week let out radicals in Afghani prisons. We know that we had the Bergdahl swap, for example. 5 of the most hardened criminals, terrorists, detainees. Why would the president do this? Why would the president sit back, pull out of Iraq, and city after city where so many Americans shed their blood to help save Iraq and turn Iraq around into an ally of the United States? One by one, those cities are falling.
Right. The reason why the president did that was because we had an American soldier who was held captive, and he made an exchange, which of course you would never agree with, because nothing the president does you would agree with. But you, ma'am, I think are the most dangerous person in society.
Which ma'am?
With the Heritage Foundation.
No, she's not. Brigitte, she's with Act for America.
I'm sorry. With ACT. I think that you are the most dangerous person because to say things like moderate Muslims supposedly are not terrorists, or supposedly are not dangerous. The majority of Muslims in this country and in this world are safe, loving people who want peace and who want to protect. Those Nigerian girls were Muslim, by the way, as well. It wasn't just Boko Haram. It was those Nigerian girls.
We're not hearing from the moderates. Regular Americans, lay people, think that they have a negative opinion of the Muslim people because we are only hearing about the murders. We're only hearing about the terrorists. We don't hear from the moderates because they're afraid to speak out. So to jump on, it's not because of conversation. organizations.
Yes,
And it
it is
shouldn't be
different.
up to
Guys,
us to
one
defend
at a time.
moderate
Let
Muslims.
Brigitte
They should be
respond 'cause you
speaking out
attacked her.
themselves.
Go
The difference between me and you is I am fluent in the Arabic language, and I walk into the mosques in this country and I understand what they say. I walk into Arabic grocery stores in this country,
I was just
in New
Morocco
Jersey,
for
in
2
New York.
weeks, ma'am.
I am
spent a
fluent
lot
and
of time in a Muslim country, so don't tell me that I don't
My mother tongue is
understand.
Arabic. I know what they're saying. I know how the society operates.
So are you
I
saying that the
understand
majority of
talk.
Muslims are terrorists?
I'm not saying that
Yes
the
or
majority
no?
Let her-
of
let her
Muslims.
answer.
I'm not saying the majority of Muslims are terrorists, and I did not say that. There are moderate Muslims. The terrorists are only 15 to 25%.
Less than
That
that.
leaves no, it's not less than that.
Much less
The
than that.
world events
She's
shows you the
dangerous.
facts. The facts speak louder than words.
You are
But
dangerous.
there
You
are
are dangerous.
75% moderate Muslims in the
let me
world.
ask Tamara,
The
who's-
moderate Muslims.
Is she a danger by calling out radicalism, or is it the people that would strap bombs on their own children in the name of jihad and
No.
holy war and a
Don't
promise?
twist my
excuse
words,
me,
Sean.
in the promise of
You
72
twisted my
virgins,
words.
who's more dangerous?
Radical Islamists are very dangerous. They are just as dangerous as a person who spews hate and tries to change a message,
What
a
did she say
Muslim
that's
message.
hateful?
How did I say
that the
hateful?
majority of moderate Muslims are somehow
All right, let me go here.
terrorists.
Yeah.
You know what's
I
so,
didn't
you know
say
what's
the
so
majority of
dangerous
Muslim
about this? You're a
moderates
very
there.
dangerous person because these are heroes standing up for the victims of Islam. And let me tell you, I study how sociopaths behave, how psychopaths behave. We see this in the unholy alliance right now with the left and Islam. What they do is when a vicious ideology, totalitarian ideology attacks us and we're victims, what these people do is they make the perpetrator the victim and the victim the perpetrator. So heroes like Pamela Geller that made a memorial grove for Aqsa Parvez, a 16-year-old Muslim girl. She stood up for the memory of a murdered, honor-killing victim and made a memorial grove for her in Jerusalem Park. And thank you that you did that, Pamela. And she's called an Islamophobe. She's called a hater. So what's happening here is these are the heroes standing up for the victims of Islam. But what we have is an unholy alliance between the left and Islam, and they're making the heroes
No,
the
no, no.
perpetrators.
All right, guys,
and
you're
you're
wrong.
dangerous.
Jimmy, you
You're
got it wrong.
dangerous by shutting us up about talking the evil that we face.
We got
Jimmy,
it.
you got that wrong.
We've got to take a break. We're going to come back. Don't go anywhere because our audience obviously is just getting